We do this too, we're bringing that fire. Talking real talk, Kentucky's on fire. From bourbon to ball games, we got that flow. On the We Do This Too podcast, yeah, you know. From country roads to the city lights, they bring the heat, man, every night. We do this too, let's make it clear. If you ain't listening, you ain't here.
Welcome back, y'all. It's another edition of the We Do This Too Outdoors podcast. And as always, we are presented to you in partnership with brands that we feel represent the very best of the outdoor industry. So before we get started, we'd like to give a special shout out to Moultrie Products, Ullers Archery, Threads Custom Bowstrings, G5 Outdoors, Blackburn Apparel Company, Deer Pip Scents and Lures, Vision Clothing, Bluebird Waterfowl Company, Angry Chicken Outdoors, Alps Outdoors, and last but certainly not least, a special shout out to the good folks over at Briley's for leaving a legacy of shooting innovation. Whether you need new cameras to elevate the scouting experience, new arrows, or anything for your archery setups, clothing, scent, or whatever it may be, as a supporter of the podcast, you can use promo code WDTT promo. That's WDTT promo for 15% off anything on the website at UllersArchery.com. Some exclusions may apply. With that being said, let's dive into another episode of the We Do This Too Outdoors podcast with your host, Mr. Courtney Williams. What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the We Do This Too Outdoors podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Williamson. I've got a special guest today on. Me and this gentleman, we went to WKU together, Western Kentucky University. Mr. JP Powell, how you doing, brother?
What's going on, bro?
Not too much, man. Just reminiscing, man, all the old times in college, man. I was talking to my wife about this earlier, man. You know, Bowling Green and how it was when we first got there, and going to campus now, man. Like, I don't know if you've been down there since we was down there, man, but like you won't recognize nothing on that campus. Like It's all gone. Like Barnes is gone. Everything in the valley, man, it's like all built up. They got a Chili's on campus now, or CVS. They don't call duck anymore. It's crazy.
Yeah, I hadn't been back probably on campus probably since about 2008. So I can't imagine how much can change. I see the football stadium on another side to it.
Yeah, the football stadium is huge. It's got a big side to it. Like I said, we only had that one side, man. When you roll down there now, man, I'm telling you, like it's like a whole different college than we went to.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy, man. But yeah, man, I see you doing your thing in the outdoors, man. I've known you for all these years, man. I didn't even know you was like an outdoorsman, which most people didn't know I was an outdoorsman until I really, left Bowling Green. Like my main little crew, they knew I was, country when they first met me, but I tried to hide it, for a long time because I didn't know how, people down there was going to accept me, man, because I come from a small town that's 98% Caucasian, and the 2% of the black folks, they all kin to me, so they knew it, but I was trying to make a whole new identity when I went to Bowling Green. So they was like, man, your country ass be doing something when you go home. So I finally had to tell them all. But yeah, man, how'd you get started in the outdoors?
Oh man, my golly, since I can remember, I've been fishing. My father, grandfather, and on both sides of my mom and dad's side, were both outdoorsmen. Hunt, coon hunt, and deer hunt, and all. Grandma fish, so it was kind of in the blood. But my dad brought me up in DC, where I was born. We did a good bit of fishing in the Chesapeake Bay, so I was raised around saltwater, crabbing and doing all that. But I got away from it and just kind of picked up back on myself, man. Getting at an older age where we can't play basketball and all that stuff anymore.
Man, yeah. Do you remember the days, dog? When we used to go to Preston like every day at 4:30 or
Man,
whatever and play ball until it closed and do the
yeah,
same thing all
man, the
over. If
big
I did that now,
yeah.
man.
And before 30 until it closed, man, every day faithfully.
Faithfully, man. I'm like, if I
Yeah,
did that now, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed for 2, 3 days.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
man.
was somebody if you made it on court one.
Right. You stayed on had to stay on court one, man. You
Yeah.
know. Yeah, it was the good old days, man. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
man, it's cool to see, somebody that, you kind of spent, majority, well, I would say the better part of your life, college time. And I always consider that, some of the greatest times I've ever had.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
somebody that close to you, you know what I'm saying, out in the outdoors, getting in it or whatever, and being in it, for a long time, and then once they get older, still sticking to it, man. So I mean,
Yeah,
how did you keep that passion for so long? Because I've heard stories, people here on the podcast, they tell me, they got into it at a young age, then they got out of it, and then
yeah.
once they got older, they got back into it. So what kept that motivation going for you?
Uh, That was kind of the same way for me. I kind of got out of it where maybe I might go once every 2 or 3 months, and I think finding peace in it is what took me out, being able to get your mind off stuff, and also having changing your hobbies of not hanging out at bars and drinking and hanging around the same folks. So that's what kind of got me back into uh back into the outdoors, just pretty much the peace that it brought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's the basically the universal thing across the board. It seems like
yeah,
for outdoorsmen, man, it's the peace that it brings, the tranquility, and just being able to go out there and enjoy God's creation, and just for me, I get out there early in the morning, whether I'm turkey hunting, deer hunting, whatever, just
yeah.
listening to the woo is just open up, whether it's turkeys
Oh yeah,
gobbling or the birds chirping or whatever, man. So that's always been a big thing with me. So, but man, fishing, man, I ain't been fishing probably so my dad died in 14. So
yeah, uh,
that was my fishing buddy.
yeah,
And, he taught me to hunt and fish and all that, but I ain't really been out there in a while. My uncle's always getting on me. He said, "Man, I ain't had no good fish since your daddy died." I said, "I hooked you up with some deer, some turkey and stuff, but
yeah,
fishing, man, I don't really go out much." But
yeah.
what most do you go out fishing for? Or just whatever's biting?
No, man, I usually got specific fish I target. Most of the time I target crappie, far as freshwater. Um, when I go down to the coast, I'm usually targeting redfish and flounder. Sheep's head is usually what I'm usually targeting down there. So when I go to the surf and fish, I might throw some bait out just to see what might catch. But most of the time, I'm targeting specific fish when I do go
I
fish.
got you.
Yeah,
So you say crop? Yeah, I love crappie. It's probably some of the best eating
yeah,
fish out there. But
yeah. I don't know how people say it. You got crappie and crappie depending on where you on where you from.
yeah, we call it crappie around here. But the further you
Yeah,
go down, like around my dad's area in Tennessee, man, it's crappy down there. And then I've heard some people just butcher the
yeah.
name. I ain't even gonna try to pronounce it the way they did, but
Yeah, you got Sockeye and Specs. Um, yeah, a couple different names from just depending on where you're from. Texas and Florida, I think got several different names.
yeah. But I know fishing season is right around the corner for most people because I know most people ain't getting out in 19-degree weather like you about to in the morning. But for uh for a beginner, somebody that's wanting to get into like crappie fishing, because I know a lot of people around here they do it, catfish, bass, whatever. It's like the
Yeah,
main three around here. But for a beginner going out for crappie, run down the gear that they need and where you find crappie at?
Oh man, the basic gear. I would go with a cork and minnows. Live bait, you know you can't beat it until you kind of get the hang of it. Start fishing with jigs. But even then, man, just throwing small jigs around round structure. Um, you know, if you know the water drop offs and stuff like that, and you know, usually when the temperature gets a certain right now February, probably up into April is spawn time. That's for bass and for crappie. So everything is going to be pushing towards the banks, laying eggs in more shallow water. Uh, so I mean, I would go with live bait and a cork and just kind of adjust your depth. Uh, you know, just depending on the bite.
Got you. So,
Yeah,
what type of rod and reel you running? You running the real long, the long boys? I know some people run those, 13, 14 foot, rod and reels. And I know some people just go out there with their bass stuff and whatever they got, man. I know OG down the road, he still uses the cane pole. So, like,
yeah.
what you run?
Oh, I mean, it depends. Fishing from the kayak, I've got a little 5 foot pole that I can drop down, you know, right in the brush. Fishing from the bank, I usually like to use a 6 foot to maybe 7 6 pole, um, just so I can kind of, you know, keep my jig up out of structure and control it a little bit more with that longer pole fishing from the bank. Um, but yeah, I've run 4 to 6 pound high vis test line. Um, and yeah, with that jig, just depending on how deep you want to fish in the water column, I usually run a 1/8 or 1/32 ounce jig. You know, just go heavy or light, just depending on the structure you're fishing.
Right. Yeah. I don't do much crappie fishing when I do fish. I'm mostly a catfish, man. That's what my dad fished
Yeah,
for. So
yeah,
like when people ask me, like, hey man, I'm going out fishing for crappie today. Like, what do I need? I was like, man, all I know is get you some minnows and
yeah,
pray for the best.
yeah,
you know, because the spots that I usually tell people to go, it's loaded with catfish, and yeah, you basically get the biggest sinker that you can find, and the biggest leader you can find. Put that minnow on there, and you
yeah,
better have something that your pole setting up on, because when them catfish, where I tell them to go, when they hit, they hit.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I done lost I don't know how many poles when I was a little kid, because my daddy's like, you better set that on a rock or set that on something. And I get to talking, that pole gone. It's in the water.
yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, yeah. I enjoy catfishing too, man. It's a cool fish to target. It's becoming popular too as a sport in tournaments and stuff like that. Um, I got some buddies that win some pretty good money fishing for catfish tournaments down here that I work with, man. So it might be something I might get into as well.
Yeah, it's always fun. My dad used to go to these. Dad was a big pay lake fisherman, which a lot of people, you got good and bad. Some people's like, oh, it's cheating and that's whatever. But I'm like, you still got to catch the fish, whether
Yeah,
you know. And Dad used to win all kind of tournaments, man.
yeah,
Pay lake fishing and whatever. And then he'd go to the river, and it's the same thing. And I'm like, Dad, how are you still catching fish in the river just like you do in the pay lake? He's like, man, you just gotta know what you're
don't
doing.
matter. Yeah,
And I had never had a lot of luck out of the river, just because it's a different animal
yeah,
than like a lake, a pay lake or whatever. But dad's philosophy was always, he usually had two poles with him. He'd throw one long, one short, and he'd have two
yeah,
different baits on either one. And if you ain't getting a bite in the first 10 minutes, he'd switch it up. He'd go,
yeah,
mid distance, Then he'd go one long, one short, whatever. And then finally, when he found them, he found them. But I could be sitting on the bucket right next to him, throwing in the same spot he is. He got 5, 10 fish in the bucket. And I ain't got nothing. And I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't know how he does it, man. It was a trip watching him go fishing, man. But for the most part, man, I think that's a good way. A lot of people ask me all the time, like the best thing or best way to get kids outside, take them fishing,
yeah,
because you know how kids are, man. Like my son, 7 years old, and people ask me all the time, you're like, hey man, how's your son do it? Like, how's he sit in the deer blind with you all the time? Like, well, it's built up to this.
yeah,
And the first time you're taking a kid out in the woods, I would not recommend you taking them deer hunting because they're sitting there for
yeah,
long hours. You might see a
yeah,
deer, you might not. They getting bored. You
yeah,
got to get them something with some action. So you got to take them, quail hunting, rabbit hunting, and I always tell them take them fishing. Get them
yeah,
some red worms and a bobber, and throw right there close to the bank. And 9 times out of 10, if the bluegill ain't biting, you might as well go home. That's what I used to say all the time.
yeah. For the kids, anyways. Yeah,
Yeah. So in your mind, man, as African American and in the outdoors, man, I know some of us won't hear us here, some of us don't. And for the most part, I feel like, this was a way of life for us back in the day, especially, coming up in this country. We had to catch our own fish, kill our own meat, you know, raise our own crops or whatever. Like,
oh yeah,
how do you think the best way to get some of these, bigger name corporations and bigger name companies like Mossy Oak or whoever to
yeah,
really take us seriously and think that we're not doing this just for, some Instagram likes? Because I feel like me, when I go outside now with my cowboy hat on, my boots on, people's like, oh, he's faking because, Beyonce's got a new album out. She's trying to turn country, and everybody's trying to turn country now. Like, what do you say to people like that?
man. To be honest, man, I hang in a lot of the country spots, and um, man, the way I dress, like I say, I've got boots on and hat on and stuff too. I I I, I feel more accepted a lot of times around a different culture than I do in with our own culture. But I feel that they may look at you like that at times and think that you're faking, then trying to be like somebody than the other Caucasian groups. Um, and that's just from being around folks doing the same thing that I do, and uh, like-minded people. I hang around a lot of older guys fishing and that do hunting and stuff too. Not too many people my age um, that I hang around, but yeah, I don't know, man. You see guys like hood fishing and stuff like that. That's kind of making a good platform and starting to get sponsorship and even accepting him as how he is, but still doing the same country stuff that we do. We just carry ourselves in a different way. Um,
Right?
but yeah, um, I know you got Brian. I think it's Latimer. He's from
Yeah,
South
Brian
Carolina
Latimer.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's South
yeah,
Carolina boy.
yeah. He's made a good pathway for fishing too. He's got a good story um, too as well from where he came from to
Yeah,
make a way where he's at now.
yeah. You kind of
Yeah,
just hit the nail on the head for real because
yeah,
like when I started my brand, I got more flack from people that look like me than I did from the
yeah.
other side.
It's
And
crazy, man.
I'm like, y'all supposed to be supporting me. I
Yeah,
can post something on Facebook right now about, something silly about Super Bowl or whatever. I get 200 likes. soon as I post
Yeah,
something about me doing something outdoors, I get the same 15 people, liking
it's
my
hard, man.
stuff. And
It's
I'm like,
hard, man.
then like I say, when I go to like some of these archery shoots or some of these conventions that I go to or just different stuff, usually I'm the minority there too.
Yeah,
There's a few of us that's there, but like for the most part, I got accepted by more of the Caucasians than I have from people that look like me, because people that
yeah,
look like me is like, man, here you go doing that white boy shit again, or you want to be white so bad, and this and this and this. I'm like, man, I grew up like this. Like
yeah,
I hid who I was for the longest time. And I was like, I'm grown now. Like, if you don't
yeah,
like me, you don't like me, but I'm gonna continue to do what I do. And there might be somebody, out there like me, because when I grew up, I used to watch a lot of TV. I used to watch a lot of outdoor shows,
yeah,
and didn't see nobody that looked like me. So I'm always asking
yeah,
my pops, like, what's this about? He's like, we're out there, we just not getting the recognition. So it's nice now to see people like Brian and Hood Fishing and
yeah,
24/7 Hunt Boys just getting the recognition, making a way for that 5-year-old kid that was like me, that didn't see
yeah,
nobody that looked like him. So maybe now that kid that's wanting to try out fishing or wanting to try out hiking or wanting to try out hunting or camping, they see
yeah,
somebody that looks like him, like, hey, maybe I can do this too. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
So
man. I look. Um, yeah, they definitely creating a good path, man. It takes a lot of being consistent. Uh, some years of putting in, man. That's what I've been beating myself up on, is especially creating content, and making sure that I'm consistent on what I'm doing. And then trying to spread out family and work time and all that too, man. It get kind of rough sometimes.
for sure,
Right.
like you said, I'm lucky I got a wife that supports what I do. She knows hunting season, she ain't gonna see me a lot of times, but
Yeah,
I make sure to build up them brownie points in the off season. So once
yeah, I'm
hunting
telling
comes, I'm out the door. So,
you. Yeah,
uh, but it's hard sometimes, man. You got
yeah,
my son plays every sport under the moon, so
yeah,
I'm not missing none of his games to go hunting. But at the
yeah,
same time, while he's out there playing, I'm loving it.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's 8 o'clock in the morning watching them play ball, and I get a text message on my phone from my trail camera in the woods, and 8:30, big boys right there, right under my tree stand. It's like, man, but you got to do the family thing, man.
yeah,
You gotta learn to split time and do everything like that, and make sure your family's taken care of, so you can get out there and enjoy it. And my
yeah,
son's getting to the age where he's wanting to do everything daddy wants to do. I just bought him a new bow for Christmas. We was out there shooting in the snow a couple days ago. It was freezing, but daddy, I want to go
yeah,
shoot. Nah, all right, come on, let's go.
yeah,
You feed that passion. I feel like that, you keep that passion going. Eventually, once we're dead and gone, he's gonna keep the train rolling for the other
yeah.
generations. So,
Yeah, that's what my boy does, man. And that's what I kind of commend my father on, that he planted a seed that it uh, started to regrow after after a while. Um,
yeah,
putting that it's always been in me. I still got uncles now, man, that work on farms. My cousins and them that work on farms, um, down in Scotland Neck, North Carolina, where my dad's hometown is. It fertilize and still do tobacco and cotton and do all that. So um, it's when it's in you, it's in you. Ain't nothing that you can do about it, but embrace it and enjoy it.
yeah,
Um, the world is missing a lot by not being outdoors of what we actually come from.
Right.
And that's every generation and culture. It ain't everybody had to survive out of the woods at once upon a time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that we had our own creative way of surviving in any situation of generations um, as a people. So,
Yeah, man.
gotta keep it alive, man.
That's what I tell people all the time, man. Like, black folks, we have always been survivors.
Yeah,
You know, you could take it all the way back to the slavery days, man. Massive being in the big house, eating all the good food, they throwing us the scraps, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
somehow, some way, we end up making soul food out of it, chitlins and pig feet, and, pig nose, stuff like that. All the
yeah,
stuff that nobody else wanted, man. We end up making it into like cuisine until,
yeah,
still today we eat it. I think that's half the time I have folks got high blood pressure and all that now because all that salt and stuff we eat. But like we learn to use stuff that nobody else wanted and make a meal out of it. And then crops. I grew up on a big tobacco farm, and
yeah,
that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be a tobacco farmer. I wanted to be a bull rider. Like that's what I
yeah,
wanted to do. And as I got older, I started getting more and more responsibility on the farm. So I'm like,
yeah,
okay, maybe this ain't what I want to do. So Dad said, well,
yeah,
you got three options. You either going to college, you going to military, or you gonna go get a job. So I chose college. Got the Bowling Green, culture shock. That's the most black people I'd ever seen in one place at one time in my entire life. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know if they're gonna accept me once they figure out, where I come from, my background or whatever, but everybody was cool with it. Man,
yeah,
I could not wait to leave this little town, man. I was like, I ain't never coming back here, man. But
yeah,
as I got older, man, Pop started getting older. Dad started getting sick. Mom started getting older. Those trips back home started meaning a little more.
yeah, yeah.
So once I, got done with Bowling Green, got done with college, I did a little stint overseas playing basketball, which a lot of people don't know that. But
Nah, I
uh,
didn't.
yeah, man, I spent a little time over there. Came home, man. I'm like, man, this is where I need to be. This is where I'm
Yeah,
probably going to end up staying, raising my family. Because I always said I was getting out of this small town, would never come back. But here I am, back here raising a family.
yeah,
Hunting the same places, man. My dad used to hunt. It's crazy the older you get, man. Some people's like, I ain't never going home, but me, I just felt like this is the place I needed to be, and that's where I'm staying. So
yeah, yeah. I learned that too, man. It's I went back to Bowling Green and lived there for about 2 years after school, and I lived down in Alabama. Played football down there for a while. Um, I had a semi-pro football career for about 7 years myself in arena football.
that's what's
Um,
up. Didn't know that.
so, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, man, anywhere you go, it's what you make of it. It ain't the place that you're at, man. It's what you make of it and what you bring there. I learned that living several different places.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, that's how it be sometimes, man. Like you
Yeah,
swear, you tell yourself that you're gonna leave this town, and Bowling Green was a big city to me, even though it was an hour
yeah,
away. From where I grew up. And
yeah,
I'm like, man, I ain't gonna never go back to that little town, man. But every time I used to come back home, man, that smell of tobacco, or that smell of silage being cut, or that hay
yeah.
being cut, like
Lumber,
all them
yeah,
the memories came back and hit you in the face. And man, do I
yeah,
really want to leave all this and go, to the big city where it ain't nothing but traffic and people honking at you and people being rude to you when you open the door for them and
yeah,
stuff like that? Like, do I really want to go back to all that?
yeah. I could imagine, man. I did meet someone my freshman year at Western that had never seen a black person either. She was from a small town in Kentucky, never seen a black person in person. Uh, so I know it was probably a culture shock for quite a few
Yeah,
folks.
she,
Uh,
she must have been from way eastern Kentucky, I'd
yeah.
say. Uh, I met one in Alabama, man. I was in
Yeah.
I can't exactly remember what town it was, but we were coming back from a softball tournament. I used to play a little bit slow pitch softball, and
Yeah.
stopped this little country town to get gas and walked in, and I'm coming out of the bathroom with this little kid, probably about 10, 12 years old, just standing there just looking at me. I'm like, "You good, bro?" And he's just sitting there looking, not saying anything. And then his dad comes over there. He's like, "Man, stop staring at him." He said, "Daddy, I've never seen one of them before." And I'm like, "Oh hell," you know. So his dad's like, "I'm sorry, sir. Like, we don't get a lot of your kind around here." And he's like, "I'm not saying that in
Yeah.
a bad way." He's like, "We just
Yeah.
don't see a lot of y'all." And I was like, "Man, it's all good." I said, "You know, he's a kid. You know, small town. I get it. You know, the farther you
Yeah.
go south, some of these little towns, man, like there's not a lot of us there, if not any. You know what I'm saying? So when when
Yeah.
you do see one of us, it's just like, damn, you know, there one is. It's crazy."
Yeah. But you meet people like that even in Bowling Green, man. You meet people who never really been out of Bowling Green. They consider going to Louisville or Nashville as entertainment. Never even really explored the world. I've met several people, even people in my family up in Kentucky that's never really been out of the state. Uh, yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But yeah,
yeah,
there's some still people out there still like it, man.
yeah.
But yeah, man.
Mm.
So I got a question that I usually ask. Well, I got a couple questions I usually ask everybody that's on the podcast. So hypothetical situation, hypothetical question, man. You got a youth kid. Let's say he's about 15 years old. Let's say he's in Baltimore. He's getting in a lot of trouble at school. Gangs is after him. Gets on YouTube, man, and he sees a video of you, you know, fishing, you know, cooking the fish while after you catch it and everything like that. He's real interested in getting into the outdoors, getting into fishing. He's trying to change his way of life, trying to get out of the city, you know, trying to stay out of trouble. What advice would you give him?
Man, actually growing up in Maryland, DC area myself, man, it's uh, you wouldn't believe that there is a bunch of prime fishing spots there. You got what's my guy Ernest? I think that's doing the catfish channel from up
Oh
in
yeah,
DC.
big
Yeah,
boy, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Man, it's get away. That was the best thing for me of kind of changing my environment of people. Not saying that I'm better than anybody or nothing like that, but just having the mindset of doing something different that you enjoy, and most of the time kids are followers, man. So creating your own lane of doing something that you want to do that creates your own peace. Um, Man, you get a fishing rod in your hand, it just kind of, even if you don't know what you're doing, being out there just kind of brings some type of peace. But just going and doing it, man, just taking walks, or like you said, just being out and hearing nature. Um, but man, just getting into it out there. I think that anybody who would do it will love it after trying it, man.
yep. I tell people that all the time, man. Whether it's hunting, fishing, hiking, camping, whatever. Like, just try it for
Man,
you know your first time, man, and I promise you'll fall in love with it. You know.
yeah, yeah. it's getting popular on YouTube, man. You see a lot of younger black guys and females too as well, kind of taking that country route of I mean, everybody from up north that has roots from down south somehow they family migrated up there. So I mean, it's in you. Once you get out and do it, man, you just kind of tap into it and change your way of life. And I think you enjoy it, man.
for sure.
Yeah,
All right. So if you could go fishing anywhere and fish for any species, where you going and what you fishing for?
man, I want to go to Alaska and fish for halibut.
Yes, what's
Um,
up?
yeah, maybe one day. But yeah, that seeing some of the monsters they pull out, I wouldn't mind going out to Alaska and fishing those waters.
Yeah, I got a buddy that went to Alaska, I think 5 or 6 years ago, man, and
Yeah,
had an encounter with a big grizzly bear. He was fishing, had a string of fish, man, and
yeah,
then he said he just felt something wasn't right. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And he said he kept on fishing, and he said that feeling wouldn't go away, man. And he just happened to look behind him, and he said probably 40 yards behind him, the biggest grizzly bear you ever seen, man. It was
yes,
pretty much stalking him, and
yeah.
he
Got
turned around, just started screaming at him, and the bear kind of charged at him a little bit, and said he was so scared. He had his 44 Magnum on his side, but he was so scared, man, like trying to get it out of the holster, he dropped it on the ground.
God
He
Almighty,
said
man.
when he picked up when he went down to get it, he said that bear was maybe like 20 feet in front of him, just staring at him,
Yeah,
and he's like, man, should I pull? Should I start shooting or what? And he said all of a sudden, man, he said he looked in that bear's eyes, and he said he felt a real like a calmness, and he said that bear just kind of looked at him and just trotted on away.
yeah.
And
God
I'm
dang,
like,
man. You got to respect them when you out there. That's the biggest thing. Um, Even though we are the top predator out there, and we can take anything out with the pull of a trigger, but
yep,
it's their territory, and you still might not win with that gun. Oh,
right, yeah. I got a homeboy. He hunts Texas a lot. In the
yeah,
summertime. He was hunting pigs. I think it's what he was hunting for. He was sitting in a blind over a corn feeder, and had his buddy in there videoing it, and his buddy he just had his phone. He ended up dropping his phone on the floor on the ground, and then all of a sudden, man, he just heard this rattle, and he was just like, "Where'd that coming from?" He said, "I don't know." And he said about 5 minutes later, they're both in the side of the blind, freaked out, and this rattlesnake just comes in the blind. So his buddy takes an arrow and pretty much, kills it or whatever. And he's like, "Man, I'm getting out of here." And he's like, "If you hadn't dropped that phone and that vibration, I guess, on the ground is what made him start rattling. So if he didn't, that thing was going to
yeah,
be in there on both of them, and they wasn't even going to be, noticing until they looked down and maybe seen it.
yeah,
One of them might have got bit or whatever, man." I'm just like, see, but you in their territory, when you set that
yeah,
blind up or whatever, you better get in there and make sure ain't nothing around or whatever, because them snakes ain't something else, man. Especially them rattlers down there in Texas, man.
yeah. Yeah, I deal with more water moccasins more than anything, and them bad boys can be mean up this way.
I think they mean anyway, man.
Yeah,
That's all I be thinking about when I'm out there duck hunting. I know it's like, you know, cottonmouth snakes ain't out in 10-degree weather, but when I'm sitting and I'm standing in that water, my waders on, that's all I can think about is there's a cottonmouth's gonna come and bite me right in the ass, and I'm in
yeah,
the water. Ain't nowhere to go. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Yeah, that's how it is when I I had to put my mind at peace when I'm out there fishing in saltwater, especially with sharks. And then down in Charleston, they got gators and stuff too. So I see gators often and see sharks often too when I'm fishing. But uh, that's just something you got to kind of put in the back of your mind until the situation comes at hand. Hell, you sit out there and worry about it. You ain't gonna enjoy yourself.
Right.
Being fearful of it. But,
That's for sure, man. But
yeah,
yeah, man, I appreciate you being getting on the podcast with me, man. I know it's been a long time coming, man, and
yeah,
appreciate
man.
what you're doing out there in the outdoors, man. You know, showing these folks how to cook the fish once you catch them and everything like that, man. I think your channel is really gonna take off, man. When, you know, somebody finds you and looking for ways to cook fish, catch fish, and all that, man. So yeah, just
Yeah.
keep at it, man. If anything I can ever do for you, man, just holler at me.
Yeah, man. I've been thinking about probably going a way of just kind of starting fresh off with the new channel and seeing how if I can get in the algorithm with that. And, that my account I have is kind of old, so see if we can get something going that way, man, and just kind of start everything new off TikTok and all the different platforms with the different name and see if I can pick up some new algorithm.
That's what's up, man. So how can people get a hold of you, man? If they want to ask you any questions about fishing or whatever, how can they reach you?
And you can hit my email. It's Jimmy Jam. That's JIMMY JAM 9035 at Gmail. That's Jimmy Jam 9035 at gmail.com. And then my YouTube channel is the JP4 Exotic Outdoors. And then also on Facebook, the same way, JP4, JP Powell. I think that's my name on there. I can't remember.
That's what's up, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Well, yeah. I hope your channel takes off, man. I hope people start getting into more fishing. I know a lot of us hunt, a lot of us fish, but no, not a lot of us, post what we catch and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
channels like yours, man, Brian's hood fishing, man. Somebody's gonna see it. The little kid that might be trying to get into it, man. So appreciate what you're doing, man. And like I said, if there's anything I can ever do, just reach out to me, man, and I'm down.
We'll do, man. We'll definitely be talking more. Get this
Absolutely,
thing
man. But
going for both of us, man.
that's the
Get the brand
plan.
going down here in the Carolinas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, appreciate y'all liking and subscribing to my channel, man. This one be out. Should be out in a couple weeks on Apple Podcast, Spotify, my YouTube channel. Make sure you leave a like, a review. It helps me out, helps the podcast out. Um, I got a new venture going too with two boys out of Texas. My boy J Cam, my boy Trey, called the New Jack Archers. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Just three brothers that love archery, man, and trying to get that off the ground, trying to get this We Do This Too off the ground. Trying to help out anybody I can, black or white. Getting this outdoors thing because ain't no color to this, man. God made the
Yeah.
outdoors for everybody. So, but yeah, make sure y'all like, subscribe, hit up my boy J Powell with J Powell 4 Exotic Outdoors. Make sure you go like his channel. If I can do anything for any of y'all out there, man, you know where to find me. We do this too outdoors on all social platforms. But yeah, man, this is another one. So I appreciate y'all. Big game, small game, all game. We do this too. Out.